Hey guys, in this lesson we're looking at perimeters of shapes, and then we'll also talk about areas of squares and rectangles. So the first word we'll talk about is perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. And the way that you find the perimeter is you're going to add the sides together. So if we look at a square is a shape with 4 equal sides and 4 angles that measure 90 degrees. So you could show 4 equal sides by doing little tick marks, or you could actually put a value down for them. But no matter what, the angles have to be 90 degrees. And the way that you'll find the perimeter for a square is to add all the sides together. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is going to give you 12. So the perimeter is going to be 12 for that square. Looking at a rectangle, it's another shape with 4 sides. The opposite sides are going to be congruent, and the angles are still going to be 90 degrees, just like our square. Notice the difference between this definition and the definition for our square is the square is 4 equal sides. With rectangles, just the opposite sides have to be congruent. So there's a rectangle, 90-degree angles, and we can say that side is going to be congruent or equal to that side, and we'll show the two sides are different by using 1 tick marks for those two sides, and notice that they're opposite, and then 2 tick marks for those two sides. And you could also use values. If that's going to be 3, this side's going to be 3. And we could say this side's 4, and if this side's 4, then this side's 4. So if we were going to find the perimeter of this one, we would do perimeter is going to be equal to 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4. Or perimeter would be equal to 6 plus 8. So perimeter would be equal to 14. A formula that people will usually use for the perimeter of a rectangle, perimeter is going to be equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Whereas this side is usually your length because it's longer, L for length, L for longer, and this side's going to be your width. When you're looking at the formula, if you wanted a formula for the perimeter of a square, the perimeter would be equal to 4 times your side because they're all equal. So then we did 4 times 3 to give you 12. And if we did the same thing down here using this formula, perimeter is going to be equal to 2 times our length is 4 plus 2 times the width is 3. So perimeter is equal to 8 plus 6. Perimeter is going to be equal to 14. And it doesn't matter to me which one of these you use. If you just say, okay, perimeter means all the sides added together, so you just add them, that's fine. Or if you're a formula person and you want to use the formula, that's fine too. Next, we're looking at triangle. It's a shape with 3 sides. And another way to look at it is a square or a rectangle that has been cut into half. And we'll talk more about that later. So looking triangle, shape with 3 sides. Perimeter for a triangle is going to be side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. So if I say this is 3, this is 7, and then this is 8. Perimeter would be equal to 3 plus 7 plus 8. So perimeter would be equal to 18. Looking at the next shape we can talk about, it's a parallelogram. It's another shape that we're working with that has 4 sides. The opposite sides are congruent, just like we had with our rectangle, except the angles are not going to be 90 degrees. So if we look at a parallelogram, this is what it's going to look like. And the opposite sides are congruent. So that side is going to be equal to that side. This side is going to be equal to that side. And it's this, when you calculate the area for a parallelogram, it's going to be equal to side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4. So if I said this was 7 and that was 7, this would be 20. And if this side's 20, that's going to be 20. So then perimeter would be equal to 7 plus 20 plus 7 plus 20. So the perimeter would be equal to 54. Looking at a trapezoid, trapezoid is a shape with 4 sides. 2 of the sides are parallel. One of those parallel sides is shorter than the other. And the other two sides are not going to be parallel. So 2 sides are parallel. So I've got one side here and I've got one side there. So see how one's shorter than the other? And then the other 2 sides are not going to be parallel, and they don't have to be the same length. So this would be an example of a trapezoid. They will also give you trapezoids that look like this. And it still follows the rule of those 2 opposite each other are parallel, and these 2 aren't equal. That can also be a trapezoid. And when you're finding the perimeter of a trapezoid, you just add all the sides together. So if this was 7 and this one was 6, that was 3, and then this one was 10. If you add all the sides together, perimeter is going to be equal to 7 plus 3 plus 6 plus 10. The perimeter is going to be equal to 26. And then they like to talk about isosceles trapezoids. When you're looking at an isosceles trapezoid, it's a trapezoid which the other 2 sides that are not parallel are going to be congruent. So we still have those parallel sides that aren't the same length, but these 2 sides here, that side right there and that side right there, are going to be congruent. So we could put little tick marks there to show that they're the same. And whenever they talk about trapezoids, they'll call this right here a base, and that's a base. And the way they'll tell the difference between the 2 bases is they'll call this one base 1 and this one base 2, and they'll call these legs. Okay. So when you're calculating the perimeter for this one, it'd be exactly the same, except these would have to be the same. So if this one was 6, that one would have to be 6. So if I'm calculating perimeter for this one, 3 plus 6 plus 10 plus 6, perimeter for this one would be 25. Some examples of problems that you could see. Here they gave you a trapezoid and they asked you what the perimeter is. This side is 4, this side is 16, this side is 16, and this side is 15. So to find the perimeter, you add all the sides together. 16 plus 4 plus 16 plus 15. Perimeter is going to be equal to 51, and the units on this are miles. Looking at the next example, what is the perimeter of the parallelogram? And they'll definitely give you problems where they'll only give you just enough information, and with that information and what you know about the shape based on the definitions that we have, you've got to be able to find the perimeter. So this is a parallelogram. If you go back to the definition that we have for parallelogram, it's a shape with 4 sides and the opposite sides are going to be congruent. So the side that's opposite from this one is down here, so it's also going to be 9. The side opposite from the 11 is over here, so this one's also going to be 11. And that'll give you all 4 sides, so then you can say perimeter is equal to 11 plus 9 plus 11 plus 9. The perimeter is going to be equal to 40, and the units on this are going to be millimeters. Looking at the next type of example you could have. Here they say you have a trapezoid, has side lengths given. What is the perimeter? Remember, perimeter means distance around. So trapezoid has, by definition, has 4 sides. So there's 1 length, 2 length, 3 lengths, 4 lengths. So if we wanted to draw a picture of it, 70.4, 42.7, and 36.2. 36.2. Yep. Perimeter is equal to 36.2 plus 42.7 plus 36.2 plus 70.4. And if you stick those in your calculator and add them all up, you should get 225.5 inches. Looking at the next one, they give us a triangle. And they'll give you some that are different, where they'll tell you what the perimeter is, and based on what you know, given the perimeter and what you know on the definition of the shape, you have to be able to find the other side. So we have a triangle that has a perimeter of 61.8 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a triangle, so I've got a picture to look at. And this one's 61.8 inches around. Two of the sides measure 12.4 and 24.7, and they want us to find that third. So I know if we're going to find, we know that if we're going to find the perimeter of a triangle, we would have to do side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3, but they tell us the perimeter, so we can put that in for P. 61.8 is going to be equal to one of the sides, and it doesn't matter where you put these in. 12.4 plus 24.7 plus side 3. So then 61.8 is going to be equal to 37.1 if we add those two together, plus side 3. Subtract the 37.1 from both sides. And that'll leave you side 3 is equal to 24.7, and the units on this one are inches. Now, if you want to just do 61.8 and subtract 12.4 and then subtract 24.7 to get your 24.7, that's just fine. It's whatever makes sense for you. Looking at the next example, they tell us we have an isosceles trapezoid has a perimeter of 21 miles. So I'm going to draw a picture of an isosceles trapezoid. I know a trapezoid has two parallel bases. And with isosceles, these two have to be the same exact length. They tell us that the whole thing around is going to be 21 miles. The shorter base measures 2 miles. So that means this is the base. So that one's going to be 2 miles. The longer base is 5 miles. The two remaining sides have the same length. What is that length? So they want to know just what does one of these going to be equal to. So I'm going to do this problem the other way, where you subtract the ones off instead of using a formula. That way I show an example of both. So we can do 21 minus 2 to give us 19, minus 5 to give us 14. So the lengths of these two sides here added together is going to be 14. Well, they only want to know what one of the lengths are, and they're both equal. So we have two lengths of equal size. So what two numbers add together that are the same to give us 14? It's going to be 7. You could also just do 14 divided by 2 to give you 7 miles.